Well, welcome back to another coffee and a chat. I'll give you a quick weather report because we had spring for a couple of days, but winter came back today. The day I'm recording this, we had snowflakes coming down, but they're not doing anything significant, and they are slowly turning over, I think, to rain as the temperatures are coming back up. But the weather is just so crazy anymore. I don't know. It's still February, early February, and we've got trees that are budding like it's May. And even my dogs, I think, are confused, like they started acting like spring, and now they're back into the wanting to sleep a lot because it's winter. And I don't know. It's just craziness. And I'm hoping they're going to be quiet. So I've prayed and asked the Lord to try to keep them quiet, because one of them is being very vocal today. And just sometimes we have dogs that do that. We have dogs that like to talk. And when they hear you talking, they think they should, join in the conversation. So I'm praying that they don't do that right now, because they're just on the other side of the wall. So anyway, going to just trust the Lord. I just wanted to take a little time here and have a Grandma Angie moment, Grandma Angie coffee and a chat. I was talking with one of my grandsons earlier, and the conversation was interesting. And I said, this is kind of making me think of some stuff, and I think I'm going to go do a video on this. And he's like, okay. But, it wouldn't be coffee and a chat really if it didn't start with a story. So I'm going to start with a story. And again, I'm really getting old and forgetful. So if, some of you guys that have been around forever with me, if you've heard the story before, well, you get to hear it again. And it may have a little different swing to it. Who knows? But this came to my mind as we were having our conversation. And I'm like, I want to share this story, and I want to share this principle, and maybe challenge all of us a little bit in our lives, because I know it challenges me. And that's why I had to tell my grandson is I have struggled with this kind of stuff my whole life. I think we all struggle with it. So we'll get to it. So here's the thing. So many years ago, I think I probably had been married around 10 years, had my 3 kids already. They were pretty young, and obviously everybody was way under 10. And so I had 3 little kids, and my mom and dad had invited all of us kids and our spouses. And, I think I'm the only one that had kids at the time. But, to bring our families down, we were going to have this family dinner. Now, I had to drive several hours to get to my mom and dad's. And I used to beat my brothers, who just lived in the same neighborhood pretty much as my mom and dad. And they'd always be late, and I'd get there. I'd get there early to help my mom. So I don't know. So anyway, this was one of those times we drove down, and so one of my brothers and his wife showed up, and my other brother and his wife hadn't got there yet. And so we were sitting around in the living room, my mom, I think, it was probably, we're probably having, let's imagine, because sometimes she would make this cider, apple cider, and she'd put, cloves and cinnamon and ginger and all kinds of good stuff. And oh my word, it was so good. And we'd have hot cider. So on a day like today, even though it's my coffee, which is even better, I'd like to remember that we were having hot cider that day and that we were all drinking it. Yeah, so let's put that in the story, because I can't remember. But we were sitting around and we were talking, and we were planning something that I do remember. Which thing we were planning, I'm not sure, but I'm going to go with the Disneyland trip, because we used to plan that a lot. We'd sit around like, okay, we'll rent a big motor home, and then we'll all get in it, and we'll go down to Disneyland and have a little vacation down there. And, when should we do this? And we'd pick when we thought we should do it, and how we were going to pay for it, and, and the different stops we were going to make on the way down as well as on the way back. And, somebody go find out what the current rate is for Disneyland, and we would plan out this trip. And so we're sitting there, let's say that's what we were planning that day. And so we're sitting there and we're planning this trip, and my other brother shows up with his wife, and they come in and, go get their mug of hot cider and come sit down, and my sister-in-law sits down. She goes, okay, so what are we talking about? And so we're like, oh, we're planning this trip to Disneyland. We thought we'd get a big motor home and we could all get in it and go down and stuff. She goes, oh, that's great. That would be so much fun. Now, is this one of those things that we actually are going to do, or is it just another one of the ones that we just talk about it forever but never actually do it? And she wasn't trying to be mean or anything. She just was being honest. She wanted to know, is this really going to happen, or are we just, daydreaming? And when she said it, it's like the room got really quiet, because that was a pretty harsh truth that was put out there, but it was true. And then we're like, I don't know. So we went back to planning the trip and all, but, we really thought about it. My mom, I know for years after that, she goes, remember when she walked in and said, and I can say Debbie was my sister-in-law's name because both my brothers were married to a Debbie at the same time. So we had two Debbies. So whichever sister-in-law it was, her name was Debbie. That I can guarantee you at that point. And so she goes, remember when Debbie said that? And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, do we do that a lot? Do we just talk about stuff but not actually do it? And my mom's like, I think we do. And it really, I don't know how it affected the guys, but it really got her and I thinking about it. And I've thought about that a lot over the years. Because it's really easy to talk about something, even plan it out, but carrying through with it is a whole nother story, because that takes commitment. Talk is cheap. So my grandson and I were talking about that kind of thing, and how it's really easy to say something, but unless our actions back that up, it really is meaningless. And, and I was telling him, how for years I have said that Jesus Christ is my greatest love. But have I always lived that way? No. Have I done things that are quite opposite of that? Yeah, I have. I told you guys, because I think it's true for all of us, that we've all done things at points in our lives where we've shocked ourselves. We thought we would never do that, or we didn't do something that we were sure we would do, and either way, we chose the wrong path instead of the right path. And, that is one of the struggles of mankind, is it's so easy to do the wrong thing and so difficult to do the right thing. And so, I told my grandson, I really fell under some conviction of that, in my life, when I would say that, but then that conviction would come that wasn't really what my life reflected. And I told him, back in the early 70s, and I'm sure it's been said other times, but I just remember back then there being almost like a campaign. That was a big time for Christian bumper stickers and stuff like that. But one of the things people were saying, if you were ever accused, if it was illegal to be a Christian and you were accused of being a Christian, would there be enough evidence in your life to convict you? Because that's one time when you want there to be enough evidence to convict you. And, and that was that same thought. You can say things, you can say anything you want, but if it's not backed up in your life. And so, we were talking about choices, and he was like, why do we always make these stupid choices? Because that's the easy thing to do, and to do the thing that our flesh wants. But to make that sacrifice and that choice for Christ, and I said, if we really wanted to get a huge motorhome and put everybody in it and go to Disneyland, we would have done it. But we never did that. We planned it. For years we planned it. We talked about it all the time, but we never did it. And it wouldn't have been that difficult. It just would have taken the commitment to do it. And even if it was like a strain financially, we could have said, okay, let's plan it for in 3 years. And so, we've got 3 years to come up with the money to save it back. And we would have done whatever we needed to do to get that. And I think that was part of my grandson's and my conversation today, is him saying he wanted something really bad. Well, if you really, really want it, then you will do whatever it is that you've got to do in order to attain it. And, if I really love Jesus like I say I do, if he truly is the love of my life, then my life will reflect it, because the choices that I make, the things that I do, will be for him, not for me. It will be pursuing that relationship with him. And, and I told my grandson, I go, at this one point in my life when I was feeling this, conviction about how I would say that, but yet I wasn't really living my life like that was true. I mean, I would to a certain point, but then I would easily get distracted and go off in the wrong direction. And so I said, but then that scripture about, on that day when Jesus, that there are many that will come and say, that they love him and that, they want into his kingdom, and he'll say, I don't know you. And they'll say, but I went to church every Sunday. I preached sermons. I taught Sunday school. I did all these things for you. But the truth was, you never really did it for him. There are people that do things that look good, and I've known them. I've known people like that. But when push comes to shove, they don't choose Jesus. And the things that they're doing that look good is so that they look good to other people. I even knew a person one time that thought they were going to schmooze their way into heaven. And you can't schmooze your way into heaven, because, see, Jesus looks at them and says, depart from me. I never knew you. See, he knows the motives of our hearts, and he knows when I'm doing something because I love him, because he is the love of my life, and he's the most important thing in my life. And he knows when I'm doing it because it looks good to other people, or it's what I think is expected of me, or I'm trying to impress someone, or just make myself feel better. And we were talking about, I remember what it was to be young. I'd see some cute guy and he'd be going to a youth group. Well, doggone it, I'm going to go to that youth group because I want to know that guy. I wasn't going to the youth group because I was pursuing my relationship with Jesus. I was pursuing some guy. And my grandson is like, yeah, I've done that. Not pursuing a guy, but, seeing a cute girl and that's involved in something. So then I'm going to go get involved in it because I want to know her. Yeah. That's part of being young. But the motive is pursuing that person, not pursuing Jesus. And I knew that there were things in my life that were like that. And that conviction fell heavy on my heart, that if I'm ever accused of being a Christian, I hope there is so much evidence to convict me that it's not even a question. It's not even needed. An investigation is not even needed, because I am definitely guilty. And, and it's not just the things about Jesus, but it's other things in our life. There are people that will sit for years talking about how I got to get a job. This is really important. Once I get that job, I can pay these bills. And yet they never even go and apply for a job. There's a lot of things where we talk about stuff, but we never actually do it. But the most important thing is that relationship with Jesus Christ, because the consequences of not following through on that are way greater than never getting a job, never going to the doctor, never whatever, okay? There is nothing that holds a higher consequence than that relationship we have with Jesus Christ. And I knew a gal once that she was like, I've been waiting my whole life for Jesus to come and show himself to me, and, like he was supposed to pursue her and stuff. And the thing is, she knew better. She grew up in the church and she knew scriptures and stuff, and she knew better, but she didn't want to put forth the effort. She thought God should put forth all the effort. And then, since she didn't think he was putting forth enough effort, well, then she wasn't going to have a relationship with him. His loss. Oh no, honey, it's going to be your loss. And, the Bible tells us that when we look for him, when we seek him with all our heart, with all our strength, and with all our mind, that we will find him. That when we knock on the door, he'll answer. So he has already pursued us. I mean, he created us. He brought us here. He gave his life for our salvation. I mean, he's already done more than we could ever do for him. But it is not a one-sided relationship where he does all the work and we just rake in all the goodies. It's not like that. See, a real relationship is two ways. it's not just one person doing everything, but it's the two working together. And so I know that if I really, really love Jesus, then I'm going to give up something I wanted to do so I've got time to sit down and read his word. And I'm going to want to read that Bible. I'm going to want to know what it says that I need to know to be a good child of God, to be doing my part, to be showing my love for him. He tells me what moves his heart in there. He gives me his love language. He tells me the wise choices to make and the foolish ones. It's all there. And so if I really am serious about this relationship with him, I'm going to want to know what that is. And I'm going to want to follow through with it. And even when it's hard, I'll find a way. I will not just go out wishy-washy or whatever. I will pray about things. I will go to him. If I really believe that he's Jehovah Jireh, the Lord who provides for me, then I will go to him for my provision. I will take my needs to him and trust him to provide them. If I really believe that he is Jehovah Rapha, the Lord who heals me, then I'm not going to get all worried when I get sick, but I am going to go to him. And I'm still going to do everything I can to be as healthy as I can. I'm not going to be irresponsible and not do my part. But sometimes you come to a point where there's nothing left now, but it's in God's hands how this is going to turn out. I'm going to trust him for that. I haven't always done that. There have been times, so many times, when I took matters into my own hands because I wasn't trusting God. And ask me how that worked for me. Not good. But when I go to him, even when he brings something that I'm like, oh Lord, this is a burden. How am I going to bear this? What am I supposed to do with this? Why, I can, at this point in my life, I can go, it's okay. I don't understand it. And I don't know how this is going to work out for my good. But I know that everything you bring my way, Lord, even the hard things, work for my good. You're bringing it to do something good in me. So I trust you in that, even though I don't understand it. You see, if you really have a relationship, then you're going to want it to grow. You're going to want to invest in it. You're going to want to make things better, and you're going to care about the other person in the relationship. When Marvin and I got married, we lived 3,000 miles apart. Now, I could have just kept staying out where I was, and he could have come back here to where he was, and we could have, called it a marriage and just seen each other once in a while. I kind of felt that way in the beginning because I had to fly back and forth because of taking care of my parents until we got them moved out here. But I got them moved out here, and I looked forward to being home and being with Marvin. And even when I was 3,000 miles away, not a day went by that we didn't talk and get on that phone and spend some time together and keep each other up with what was going on. And one thing, Marvin and I are getting ready. This year we'll have been married 11 years, and we've come a long ways in 11 years. When you're older, you have to move faster because you don't have as much time. But we're real partners and best friends, and we've got a good, healthy relationship. But that didn't just happen. We had to invest in it. One of the things I've told you guys before, that I've shared before, is Marvin and I don't fight. We've never had a fight and argued and been mean to each other and hurt each other's feelings and slept as far apart in the bed as we could get. We've never done that. But we made a conscious choice not to do that. That we were in our 50s when we got married, and it's like, what? We're old enough and grown up enough that we can be mature about this and we can discuss things, because we don't always agree on everything. And there are things we could fight about, but we choose not to. We choose to treat each other with respect because we love each other. We choose. See, we could have said we're never going to fight, but if we wouldn't have done the work and held to and been committed to that, then it wouldn't have happened. And here, coming on 11 years, we've never fought. We've not been mean to each other. And anytime somebody's feelings got hurt, but trust me, it was an accident. Nobody was intending to hurt the other person's feelings. Those things happen, but then you forgive. You don't let it all build up in you. I mean, there's just, the power of choice is a lot more amazing than what I realized. But we had a commitment to that in our relationship, and we've held to it. And I feel confident we will always hold to it because it's so important to us. See, when something's really important, then you're willing to do the work. So my challenge to you today, is look in your life. What are the things you talk about but you never actually really follow through? What are the things, and we're just a little ways past the first of the year, a little over a month past it, and people's New Year's resolutions are already crumbling all over the place. I know my grandson was asking me this year, what are your New Year's resolutions? I go, I quit that a long time ago. I just, in life, when I need to do something to improve myself, then I start working on it and I go for it. But that whole New Year's resolution just seemed like I was setting myself up for failure every time. And because as soon as it didn't work, I didn't do it right or whatever, I would be like, oh, it's not going to work, and give up. And I just don't even do that anymore. But there are things when I did do it, there were certain things every year. There were certain things that would always be part of my New Year's resolution. And every year I would neglect to accomplish that goal. I'll try again next year. See, it wasn't important enough to me, or I wouldn't have given up. And I'll tell you, just the other day, I was sitting down, having my quiet time with the Lord, and I told him, I love you so much, but I feel like how much I love you is such a tiny little bit of what it should be. I want to serve you, and I'm trying to do, what you've asked me to do to serve you, but no matter how much I do, how much I give, I feel like it's such a tiny fraction of what it should be. See, it's important to me. And but I told him, I asked him, is it really that important to me? Why does it seem so small? And, it was a moment that I had to press through, but I think we have to sit and really take an honest look at things. And that day, taking that honest look, I came up to, there was something I knew, I need to be more committed in this, and I need to do this. But see, when there's been a few things that I've done lately that have been changes in my life. But see, those changes in my life affect the people that I live with. And so I had to go to my husband and I had to go to my grandson and say, okay, look, I'm feeling I need to do this, but that's going to affect you guys. And so I need to know if you're okay with it too. Are you on board with this? Because it's going to call for some sacrifice from you. The last thing I did, it's going to take up some time that I'm not going to have to do stuff for them. So that means they're going to have to do a couple of things, maybe more for themselves. Are you okay with that? And they both are wonderful and are like, we just want you to do what God wants you to do. And, and Marvin especially is just, he doesn't want to ever get in the way of that. Just like I don't want to ever get in the way of what God wants from him. And, that's the other thing, is if it really matters to me, then it's going to matter to me what matters to him, as far as my husband pursuing God more. And that sometimes that takes away maybe from something, for him to have the time to go sit down and be alone with God. It's going to take time away from me. And I need to really be joyful about giving up that time, which I am, to tell you the truth, I am, so that he has that to devote to the Lord. So maybe today I'm just saying, let's do a little inventory of our lives and what really is coming out as being really important to us. What matters the most? What is it that I invest myself in the most? Because as a follower of Jesus Christ, if I'm investing myself in anything other than him, more than him, okay, not anything other than him, but anything more than him, then it's got a wrong place in my heart. He has got to be the greatest pursuit of my life. And so I'm doing a little personal inventory today, doing a little checkup. And I just wanted to share that with you, that maybe you would do that too. I know, some of you have left some comments, about how you just want to really serve the Lord and you're worried that you're not doing what you should be doing or whatever. Quit worrying about it and just start making sure that you're spending that time alone with him on a regular basis so that you can begin to hear his voice and you can have those convictions hit your heart. And when those convictions come, especially the ones that hurt, don't avoid them. Don't try to get away from them. Don't try to run away from the pain. Don't take a spiritual pain pill to numb you, okay? But let it do its work in you. That's another one we need to talk about sometime. Pain, the gift nobody ever wants, but the gift that God sends in order to do a work in us, and how we always try to avoid it when we need to embrace it. And there may be some things that you're avoiding in your life, some things I'm avoiding in my life that we need to be embracing because God sent them to do a work in us. And I want him to do that work in me. You see, every day I'm a day closer. I'm that much closer to when I'm going to leave this earth and go into God's presence. And when I come face to face with Jesus, I don't want him to be disappointed in me. I want him to be so proud of me. And even though I failed so much earlier in my life, if he can say, but there at the end, you really got it, girl. You took hold of what mattered. Those last years, they were your best years. And I'm so proud of you. Come on, thou good and faithful servant, enter your rest. Or enter my rest, his rest. Yep, that's what I want. That's what I'm looking forward to. I want him to be excited to see me. I want him to be happy to see me. I want him to be, been waiting for you. Yeah, that's what I want. And it is important to me. And I have showed it today in several different aspects of where I have chose him, not because it was hard to choose him over something else, but because I wanted to. I'm at that point, I want to. No matter how much I get of Jesus, I want more. And he says that if I pursue him with all my heart, all my soul, all my mind, and all my strength, I will find him and I will not be disappointed. Okay, personal inventory day. That's what Grandma wanted to talk about. Or sister or mom or wherever we fit in that age range. Today it was a grandma day. So yeah. I love him. I love Jesus more than anything. He is the love of my life. And then Marvin. And Marvin, he wants it that way too. We both will tell each other, you better never love me more than Jesus, okay? But he's the only one you're allowed to love more than me, but you better love him more than me. All right, I love you guys. I hope you have an awesome day today, and I'll be talking to you again real soon. All right, talk to you later.